Right, so Keir Starmer has gone to Bristol today to give a speech that was supposed to be all about voting for his party, at least given that he presides over the corpse of what used to be a Socialist Democratic Party called Labour. You'd imagine that was what he wanted. Instead, in a city rapidly becoming a bigger and bigger Green Party heartland, he's effectively told people exactly why you should vote for them. Instead, given he stands for absolutely nothing, he's actually stood up and spoken about. Yet they do. And more to the point, the Green Party know it, because they've been busy pointing out exactly why it is that you should back them. They are the ones that you should give your vote to in a general election, as so many have in local elections. And it is so easily done when Starmer is so vacuous, tedious and dishonest. Right, so Keir Starmer has slithered into Bristol to sell his snake oil that passes for Labour Party policy under him. But being the consummate source of copious amounts of rear-end cow produce that he is, he remains committed to nothing changing at all. And what he did sell as change is what the Green Party, in fact, are the ones that would deliver, but he has no intentions of doing. You would have to be a fool to believe anything the man says. The most telling part of the preamble leading up to this speech, containing absolutely nothing to get excited about at all by the prospect of a Starmer-led government, was the fact all anyone was talking about was that he was going to attack Corbyn in his speech. Well, Jeremy Corbyn was 4 years ago now. If Starmer still has him living rent-free in his head, then that's more his problem than ours. But I'm also told he's so desperate for press attention, it's the only way he thinks he can get any, by upsetting all the Corbynites out there so they take to social media and go grrr at him. Let's just ignore him instead. 4 years of Keir Starmer's leadership, and still all he can think of, all he has, is to attack his predecessor. That is pathetic, and I'm not going to spend another second of this video entertaining that. Starmer wants people who left Labour to come back to it. Now it's back to being a Tory tribute act. He thinks that's a great selling point, that nothing is going to change. He wants you to think that there is no hope and that the eternal taking of turns between Labour and the Tories is all we can have in this country, the best we can hope for. And they call that democracy. It's as insulting as it is depressing, and it should serve to remind people why such a boring tool as he is, his nickname frankly should be Drillbit, doesn't represent any change at all. In fact, the Green Party Zach Polanski has taken to video today and spelt this out better than I ever could. He said, "I want to talk to people who have voted Labour in the past. Now I know for a tiny minority of you, you'll vote Labour in the future, no matter what anyone says or does, so this video isn't really for you. But I know for a huge amount of you, you are deeply concerned about the direction of the Labour Party, and you're wondering where has that Democratic Socialist Party that was apparently on your membership card gone. You'll also recognise that under Keir Starmer the party is being destroyed forever and he feels like you've got no place to go. You'll be concerned that you've seen him back the child benefit cap that will keep millions of children in poverty. He says there's no money left, but he refuses to talk about taxing multimillionaires and billionaires. And you'll have seen how the Labour Party and the government have stood complicit in turning their backs as atrocities are committed in Gaza. Now I could spend the rest of this video talking about Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, but I think there's enough division and toxicity in our politics. We need hope and a tangible action plan for change. That's the Green Party. We're the party that is speaking up for migrants and refugees, a positive, inclusive voice. We're the party that are talking about renationalising our public services. And we're the party that recognises the solutions to the inequality crisis are often the same solutions to the climate crisis. But these can only happen by working side by side with trade unions and in solidarity with the working class. Now some of you will say, I love the Green Party, I love these policies, but we need to get the Tories out. And we need proportional representation. Keir Starmer has been very clear he does not back proportional representation. And he's also been clear that he is standing essentially on a platform that we can see is full of Tory campaign pledges. What we're replacing is blue Tories in blue ties with red Tories in red ties. This isn't good enough, and it's not tactical. By voting for the Green Party, you're voting for a bold, correct platform. He's absolutely bang on. Zach Polanski has absolutely nailed it. I totally agree, because it's exactly why I joined the Green Party after leaving Labour, in disgust at what Starmer did to it after lying his way into the top job. Migrants and refugees are people who should be treated with dignity and respect, especially what many of them will have fled from. We're watching it happen in Israel and Gaza now. They will have been fleeing similar situations, many of them. And when they come here, they prove to be net economic benefits. They're not pariahs bleeding the state to dry of benefits like right-wing media outlets and too many right-wing politicians claim them to be. Taxation isn't a bad thing either. Tax cuts are. And I say that because they tie the hands of the government on what they can spend on without driving inflation up. The only bad taxation is when it falls disproportionately on the likes of you and I, ordinary working class people, and not the super rich, who avoid it constantly, but who also donate heavily to both Tories and Labour, again now the Red Tories are back in charge, to make sure things don't change. In fact, Starmer's first pledge in his speech here, yes, he's making them again, he's run out of old ones to break now, you see, so he needs some new ones, was that he would get inflation down. Well, Rishi Sunak has pulled that con already, and he's already claimed to have got it down. But it isn't something any government themselves do, because it's an economic end product that has happened despite Sunak, not because of him. And now Starmer is peddling the same lie and promising the same thing, though with the added bonus of not saying how he would do it himself. Keir Starmer's binned renationalisation, but the Green Party still back it. Starmer wants more privatisation in the NHS. The Green Party want that reversed. Where junior doctors are on strike at the moment and getting attacked by both the Tories and the likes of Starmer's health minion Wes Streeting for taking strike action, the Green Party is standing with them in solidarity. Where the Green Party are standing with trade unionism, the party of the trade unions, as Labour is supposed to be, is pretty much just telling them to know their place. We're not the party of protest anymore, Keir Starmer said, despite that being the very foundations his party was literally built on. Starmer has also gone on record as saying Israel has the right to commit genocide and has refused to apologise for saying that, denying he ever said it now, even though it's on film, and he's refused to back a ceasefire. But from the very beginning, the Green Party has demanded a ceasefire and still does now. Vote one to get rid of the other, and you think things are going to change, which is what they keep telling us, both the Tories and Labour alike. Come on, folks, I know some of you are too far gone to ever think otherwise, but most of you, I would hope, can see the wood for the trees here. And if you need more reminding of that, Starmer has basically dodged every single question asked of him after his empty speech, bereft of anything meaningful. He pledged to crack down on cronyism when his team have interfered in selection campaigns up and down the country, not least seeing his new Chief of Staff Sue Gray's son get selected to stand for Labour for Parliament. No more VIP fast lanes, he said as well. No more revolving doors. I'm assuming that means unless it's the Israel lobby walking in, though, mind. When does he ever say no to them? He told people they were right to be anti-Westminster and to be angry about what politics had become, when he's the very epitome of that. He said to hold on to that flickering light of hope in your heart, that things can be better if you vote for him. Well, hope on your heart that things can be better, I completely agree on. But by voting for the Green Party, you can have that. Not by backing another empty suit establishment shill like Keir Starmer. Lines like that should be making people thinking of voting Green, not voting for him. Starmer avoided questions like it was a competition sport too, and it was engineered that way. Starmer offered just a single question to members of the media, so follow-ups to whatever his evasive answer was were not possible. His team are apparently trying to get him out of the TV debates during the upcoming general election, expected at some point this year. He's saying in his speech here, bring it on. So presumably that means he'll be sending Wes Streeting out, much like Theresa May sent in Amber Rudd, because he is absolutely hopeless when real questions are put to him that he can't avoid. He dodged questions entirely on votes at 16, on unfreezing income tax thresholds, on reversing the Tories' planned inheritance tax cuts, which only benefit the rich. He dodged his plans to ditch the promised £28 billion in green investment by saying we'll look at it in the second half of the Parliament. So in other words, it'll come up on the 8th of Never 2026 because he lies like a rug. The one standout question that still made him squirm like the worm he is, though, came from Sky's Beth Rigby, who put to him, part of your pitch today seems to be to try and energise apathetic voters. But beyond the rhetoric in that speech, and there was lots of it, when you get to the nuts and bolts of a Labour government, on public services you say money is so tight you won't invest. On tax you more or less ape the Tories, and you seem to be ditching your one big idea, which is big money for green investment. Your entire pitch seems to be vote Labour to see the back of the Tories. Isn't there a danger that voters will see you not as a leader of change, but one who is overly cautious and timid and who turns them off? Well, bang on, Beth. Can you imagine a bigger turn-off than Keir Starmer? Get the Tories out, but vote my band of red Tories who will continue right where they left off is basically all Keir Starmer has got up to offer the people. I would argue it isn't caution or timidity here, it's simply who he is. Just another bloody Tory in the wrong damn party, just waiting for his turn to serve establishment interests. All Starmer could fumble to reply with that is yet another soundbite of 14 years of decline versus a decade of renewal, so he even thinks he's getting 2 terms out of this. As for how much he's turning people off, he knows it, because the location of his speech in Bristol at the National Composites Centre was kept secret until this morning, mere hours before it was due to begin, and yet still protesters got there with placards and banners and most notably Palestine flags, demanding of those attending when they will call for a ceasefire, shouting to Starmer that he's got blood on his hands, but acting like a bunch of aloof middle managers, Labour figures just putting hands up in people's faces to walk by and ignore what they have to say to them. A bunch of Tories acting exactly as they really are, and how they will behave in government as well, should people vote them in. For his part, Starmer scuttled to his car afterwards, handily hidden behind several white vans. These allegedly belonged to the BBC, no less, or they might have been some media pool vehicles. At least that is what I'm told. Bristol have a real viable alternative to at least add one more seat to those they have in Parliament, with one of the Green Party co-leaders, Carla Denyer, standing in Bristol against the rancid Thangam Debonair. Starmer took to their turf because it is Green Party turf there now. They are the largest party on Bristol City Council. Their presence is just getting bigger and bigger. And actually there's no reason at all why this should just happen there and not everywhere else as well. Labour is not the party of the workers anymore. It's another party of the bosses. The last thing we need is another one of those. And nothing proved the Green Party to be the new Workers' Party, quite like their attempt at a fatal motion to try and block Tory anti-strike laws becoming law. Because Keir Starmer whipped his lords to abstain on that. Presumably so he can sell undoing such a thing as a policy for the election as a manifesto campaign promise, rather than something he could have just stopped from ever happening if he'd done the right and decent thing for ordinary people across this country, which you can learn all about if you watch this video here next. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.